forever unknown. Days and nights, skin and bone. Forever this town, forever my car. Forever this night, forever these stars. Forever I live, forever unknown. Forever in love, forever a ghost. Days and nights, skin and bone. I'm still here, but you moved on. Forever falls in love with the guy that wears sweater vests. She used to be mine, but now it's like we never met. Forever leaves fast in the middle of the night. Forever breaks my heart and never says goodbye. Days and nights, skin and bone. I'm still here, but you moved on. I live inside an old photograph. I wish that I could feel your love again. So I live inside that old photograph. And I wish that I could feel your love again. Forever falls in love with the guy that wears sweater vests. She used to be mine, but now it's like we never met. Forever leaves fast in the middle of the night. Forever breaks my heart and never says goodbye.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Windswept Rob Show. Calling civilization. Can you hear me out there? Hello. I'm just presuming you can hear me and see me. You have done in the past. I'm assuming you will tonight. As you can see, there have been some gremlins at work and I can't get my background to work for some reason. So you're stuck with the green screen. Now, there's a lot to get through tonight and I may run over a little bit. I don't like to do that, but I may run over a little bit tonight, depending on how things go. So let me get straight into it and tell you the format of tonight's show, because there's quite an important load of information that I want to impart to you. It's going to be a call-in show, but the way it's going to work is I'm going to talk about topic one, and then I'm going to open up the call line, and I'll allow in two callers who have a maximum of 5 minutes each, because I've got a lot to get through, and if I don't really want to run over tonight, so I'm going to restrict it to there. After the call-ins from part one, I'll go into part two of the details, and then I'll open up the line again for calls about part two and any additional questions over the whole topic, part one and part two, which I'll explain what those parts are in just a second. Excuse me. The other thing is, I would ask, when I open up the phone lines for you to call in, On the first part, the first topic that I'm going to talk about tonight, please make your calls be relevant to that topic only. If you want to talk about something else, don't call in straight after the first part. I will only accept callers who want to talk about the first part that I talk about tonight. If I bring you on and you start talking about something else, then I'll put you back behind stage and bring someone on that does want to talk about the topic, the part one topic. The same when it comes to part two. When it comes to part two, I'll prioritise callers who want to talk about the subject that I discuss in part two. And secondarily, people I will make second priority people who want to talk about either part one or part two, the whole thing. If you have something to talk about tonight that is not in tonight's topic, then you probably won't get on unless there are no callers waiting. If I don't have any callers waiting and you're the only caller waiting and you want to discuss something else, then you've got a chance of getting on. Okay, having said that, I'll say hello to a few people, but I don't want to spend too much time on that because, as I said, I've got a lot to get through. So hello to Odo, who was here here very early. And I'll just quickly say hello to names that have typed something in at the comments. There's Stevie. Thanks very much. A wee thumbs up for you, Stevie. Graham is looking forward to tonight's topic. It's important as well. There's Peter. Hope you're here, Peter, for the whole show, and you don't have a quiz night on tonight because the stuff that I have to say tonight is really, really important. And if you can't stay for the full show, please watch the catch up if you can. Gerard McGlinchey is in here tonight, probably hoping for some good information. And we have Jordan here saying hello to you, Jordan, too. This information is also going to be relevant to you. Danger Drone here has just popped in last second into the comments with a thumbs up. Here's a thumbs up for you, Danger. Okay, right, so what is the topic tonight? Well, as the thumbnail said, it's going to be about the new DJI, no, the new CAA rules that are coming into effect in 3 days on Wednesday. They come into effect and change some of the existing regulations. Maybe not change them. Well, yeah, they do change some. And I'm going to go through that. I'm going to do it in two parts tonight. The first part, I'm going to speak about sub 250 gram drones. That's drones like the Mini 3 Pro or the Mini 2. Any drones that are sub 250, that's what and the changes that the CAA are introducing on Wednesday, I'll be speaking about those drones. In the second part, I'll be talking about drones that are above 250 grams, but under 900 grams. And that would be your Mavic 3, your Air 3S, your Avatas, and your FPV drones. Okay. I'm not on the whiskey. I'm on orange juice, pineapple juice tonight. But that's irrelevant. Okay, I'm going to share some screens with you. First of all, I want to talk about the sub 250 gram drones. That's the drones such as the Mavic 3 Pro. Okay, how will you be affected? And I've got a table to show you as well, which I've spent a lot of time today trying to make it as clear and easy to follow as possible, because some of the other channels I've found that are very detailed and very good at giving you all of the details make it it sounds complicated, and even I who I know what I'm talking about, I have found it hard to follow some of these channels. I think you know who I'm talking about. One guy who is very, very good at giving you the fine details of everything, but sometimes it confuses matters by giving you too much information. So I've tabled it. I've spent all day on this, working on this, and I've tabled it to try and make it easier. So I'm going to share a screen with you now, if I can. And there are gremlins tonight, as you can see with the background, so hopefully this isn't a gremlin here. And hopefully you can still hear my voice when I switch over. Right, we'll take that one off. Add that one on. Okay, so I'm presuming you can still hear me. If you can't hear me, please let me know in the chat, and I'll do what I can to fix it. So we're talking, let me make it bigger, in fact. Right, so we're talking now about the sub 250 gram, right? It's either going to be a legacy drone, right? It's got no class mark. Thanks, Jordan. Thanks for that. It's got no legacy mark. It's a legacy drone with no class mark, right? Or it's going to be a new drone which does have a UK class mark. It's going to be one of these two, right? And I've given an example of the Mini 3 Pro and compared with the DJI Neo 2. But I'm not talking specifically about these two drones. I'm just talking about legacy drones that don't have a class marking and new drones that have a UK class marking. Okay. So who needs a flyer ID? If you have a legacy drone with no class marking and you're flying it and it's above 100 grams, which all our drones are, yes, you need a flyer ID. Same if you are if you've got a new drone, it's above 100 grams, you need a flyer ID. Who needs an operator ID? That's changed. If you now have, no, sorry, it's always been that way. The flyer ID has now changed. You need an operator ID for any drone over 100 grams with a camera. That's your Mini 2, Mini 3, Mini 4, 5, etc. And that's the same with the new drones that come out with a new UK marking. Where the class marks apply, right? A legacy drone doesn't have or use a class mark. But the new one, a new drone, must have a UK class mark to be sold in the UK. So any drone that you buy after January the 1st, and maybe some that you bought just recently, will have a UK class mark. What about remote ID? This is a big one here, right? Who requires to have remote ID? If you have a legacy drone, can I bring up this wee thingy? How do I do that? If I go to... Right, okay. I just wanted my face in here. If you have a legacy, I didn't want my face, I want to show you. If you have a legacy drone, sub 250, such as my Mini 3 Pro, because I bought it 2 or 3 years ago, or my Mini 2, which I bought 4 or 5 years ago. Did you see it? This is Lassie. Oh, the bold Lassie. Then, let me go back full screen. Then you do not have to have remote ID up until 2020, the end of 2026. But at the moment, sorry, the end of 2027. But at the moment, you do not require a remote ID. However, if you have a new drone that has a UK marking, and it will be UK1 if it's a Mini 3 type drone, Mini 4, Mini 5, you will require ID, remote ID. If it's a UK 0, that means it's below 100 grams or it doesn't have a camera, you won't. But if you have a drone such as the Mini 3, any drone sub 250 that has a UK marking, which will be a UK 1, you must have remote ID. Okay. The open category subcategory allocation. I know that sounds complicated, but it's the legacy means it's based on weight only. But with the new drones, it's based on the UK class and weight. So there's two contributing factors to where you can fly with new drones. A typical sub 250 gram operation, a typical operation for a drone, such as the ones described, is effectively A1 style flying, right? Don't intentionally fly over uninvolved people and avoid crowds, right? Just as you have been doing for the past 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Okay. If it's a UK 1 marking, right? It's A1, which is the same. Flying allowed. Don't intentionally fly over uninvolved people and avoid crowds. But you have to have remote ID and there are extra design and safety requirements which are not applicable to you, but are applicable to the manufacturer of the, can I bring that up? The manufacturer of the drone that they must have built in to allow it to have the UK one marking, right? This is starting to sound complicated, but I will break it. I'll give you at the end of this explanation and at the end of the table, I'll give you a summary to make it easy to follow, okay? Right. Ability to retrofit a class marking. So you're thinking, right, I have a Mini 3 Pro that I bought 3 years ago. It does it doesn't have a marking of any kind whatsoever. Can I retrofit a UK one marking onto that? That's might be a question that you have. And the answer to that is no automatic upgrades, right? It will not automatically suddenly be in the UK one class or marking classification. If it's a new drone, it's already class marked at the sale, okay? So you can't retrofit it. You don't get an automatic upgrade. It's what is known as a legacy drone, okay? What about your insurance in Article 16? Can you fly it under Article 16? Yes, that's allowed if you're a member of a particular group and you're compliant with the member requirements. And that is the same with a new drone that is UK marked. So whether your drone is marked this or not, your sub 250 gram is marked or not, you are allowed to fly under Article 16. Your maximum height remains the same, 400 feet or 120 metres. Your visual line of sight requirement remains the same. You have to have it. And the transitional recognition of EU class marks is irrelevant because you didn't have a class mark on your legacy drone. There isn't one. And it's relevant only with a new drone if it carries an EU mark instead of a UK mark up until the end of 2027. Now, let me scroll up here. Right. So, hold on a wee sec. So that was the tabled form, and you can take a screenshot of that and have a look at it later on. Or if you really want a copy of everything I'm going to speak about tonight is going to be, I'm going to share the screen of all of the work that I've done today. Just email me and ask for a copy of it, and I'll send you that through. It took me a lot of hours to compile this, and it would probably take you a good number of hours as well. But to save you the time and trouble of doing that, and I find following the multiple paths that go everywhere, just email me and I'll send you a copy of everything that I've prepared for tonight. Okay, so in summary, what that means in plain English, right? And I'm going to bring up the screenshot to show you here. If I can get it to work. There you go. In summary, right? Remote ID, if you're worried about that, it only applies to UK class marked drones, right? Not to legacy drones. This is sub 250 we're talking about just now, right? No RID required if you're a legacy drone. RID required if it's a new drone that's got a UK marking on it. Your old Mini 3 Pro doesn't suddenly become restricted in 2026. It just becomes a legacy drone under weight-based rules, and you must have a flyer ID and an operator ID because it's over 100 grams with a camera. If it's a new drone that you get after 2026, you must have a UK class mark, and it will need remote ID if it's UK 1 or above. If it's UK 0 or above, it just means it doesn't have a camera and it's under 100 grams, which is none of our drones. So, new drone, you will need that remote ID if it's UK 1 marked. Old drone, you do not need remote ID. add that on there and bring that on full. So that's it for 250 sub 250 gram drones. The difference in the new rules between a legacy drone, one that you've had for a while that is under 250 grams, and a new drone, which means it's a drone that's sub 250 that you buy and comes with a UK1 marking on it. I don't think I can be any clearer than that. But if there are any questions about that, I'm now going to open up the phone lines. And if there are any questions about anything that I've spoken about on that section, and I'm just checking the time to make sure I'm no waffling too much as I tend to do often. So I'm going to open up the phone lines now. And the way I'm going to do this is the same as last week. I'm going to drop a link into the chat, and if you want to get on and be on screen and speak, and you don't have to, your face doesn't have to be on. You can point your camera or your phone or whatever away from you and still speak. You don't have to have, or you can even turn your camera off and be audio only, so it doesn't have to be a video call. But I'm going to drop the link now. That's it there. So all you have to do is click on that link, follow the couple of very simple instructions that you'll get popping up on your screen. You can do it with a phone, a tablet, a laptop, even a telly, I suppose, if you have webcams and things fitted. It's easy enough to do. And if you want to call in with any questions, or if you want to make some comments on that first part that I spoke about, which was the simple one. The hard part comes later when I talk about drones that are sub 900. They're between 250 and 900 grams. That's where it becomes very complicated. So that was the very simple part tonight, and it's open for calls now. So while I wait to see if anyone wants to come on and chat with me, I'll have a quick look through any comments. Right, haven't got any. Alba for the Air has said, hi Robert, just popped in. Gerard said, I'm after, no, I've answered that one already. Dave has said, I spoke with DJI chat about the sub 250, was told, do not need to add remote ID until at least 1st of January 2028. Yeah, that's partially true, Dave, but it's only true with legacy drones. It's not true with new drones, okay? Doesn't matter what DJI say. It's not DJI that are imposing the rules. It's the Civil Aviation Authority. Okay, so I'm giving it to you straight. No matter what DJI say, if it's a new drone, you have to have remote ID. If it has a UK1 marking, and all new drones have to have a UK1 marking. Okay, so follow whatever advice you like. You're a big boy, and you can follow DJI Chat's advice, follow my advice, or you can look it up yourself. I'm not telling you what today. I'm just telling you what I have discovered and researched and prepared for you tonight. Just Woofy, good evening to you. Jordan says, yep, you can hear me. That's good. And Fred Flintstone can hear me loud and clear. P. Taylor says, I have the Mini 5 Pro with a 0 class mark on it. 0 class mark on it. That's very strange, Paul. I'm surprised about that because the 0 class mark is only for drones that are below 100 grams and don't have a camera. If it's above 100 grams and it has a camera, it should be Mark 1. So that's an anomaly as far as I'm concerned. I can't answer that question because I'm not saying your question doesn't make sense, but that configuration that you've given me doesn't make sense. Okay. Danger Jones says, I'm thinking there'll still be C0, C1, etc. drones sold for a while before UK1, UK2 comes to sale. Any new drones sold in the UK after January 20, January the 1st, 2026 must have the UK1 label on them. Unless it's a second-hand drone you're buying from eBay or from wherever. It's a second-hand drone, that's different. Talking about new drones here. And that was the comparison I was giving you tonight. A new drone sold in 2026, at the start of 2026, with a UK1 marking compared with a legacy drone that was bought prior to January 2026 and doesn't have a marking of any kind. Okay. John says, that reminds me, I need to check mine. I have a Mini 5 Pro. Yeah, check it and see what label it has on it, Jordan. John Britton says there really needs to only be 3 rules, and I'm sure you will outline them in a minute, but you haven't done yet. Paul says, definitely has a big 0 on the label. Is it a UK 0 or just a 0? Because it has to be a UK marking, either UK 0, UK 1, UK 2, UK 3, UK 4, UK 5, UK 6. It has to if you've just got a big 0 on it, that doesn't mean anything. Like, for example, the my Mavic 3 and my Mini 3 Pro and I've only got 2 hands, so I can't hold them all up at the same time. My Mini 2 all have markings. They have CE, sorry, you're there. They have CE markings, but that is not about the drone category classification. That is about the quality meeting the EU standards, having a CE mark. So don't get that confused. If you have a mark, there are lots of markings on drones. I'm talking specifically here about the category markings, and that is either a C marking, no marking at all, or a UK marking. That's it. There's only 3 markings that you can have in a drone that are about the category of flight, the category of drones where you can fly your drone. All right. Hey, Eddie, hope you're all right, pal. I haven't spoken to you for a couple of days. I think I'll need to get in touch with you. Just Woofy has said, I believe it's new drones placed in the market that must have UKX marking and hence RID. Legacy drones are still in the system, don't need RID. Yeah, that's exactly what I just explained and showed the table. So that's exactly what I said. You're right. Right, Paul, if you don't have a UK mark, it's not a UK 0 then. Okay? So I would have a closer look at it to see just what it is. If you're still unsure, email me later on and I'll walk that through with you. But if it's got no UK mark at all, that means it's a legacy drone, which means you don't need RID. You don't need remote ID. And there's someone else, Droning Around UK, has also said my Mini 5 is CO. That means it's a legacy drone. It doesn't have a UK marking, so you don't need remote ID with it. Okay? Almost all drones sold prior to January, which is in the future, will not have a UK marking. You might have bought one that has already been shipped with the UK1 marking on it, and you bought it very, very recently, and it has a UK marking on it. But these drones were not intended to and will not fly in that category until January the 1st. But if you have a drone prior to that, it doesn't matter what marking's on it. It's a legacy drone. And you are not required to have remote ID. Okay. What we're saying now. John Britt says, they're only with 3 rules. Do not fly above 400 feet. Do not fly over crowds. Do not fly in a manner that can endanger people or damage property. John, I absolutely agree with you. Okay, it makes sense. And the other thing is, and I've preached about this, is that the technology in these drones is further ahead than the rules and regulations that you have to fly these drones by. And that's an issue, because you're basically flying a piece of technology that has capabilities that are beyond the rules that cover that drone. And the rules that cover that drone, in 10 years' time, they may catch up with the drone that you now have. But by then, we'll have drones 10 years in advance. I've been preaching this for 5 years, so I agree with you. However, rules is rules, you know what I mean? Right, I need to move on to part 2 very, very soon, and I don't have any callers that I can see waiting, so I'll move on to part 2. Terry McGeary says, I've got a Mini 3 Pro from 2-3 years ago, so must be legacy. It is, Terry. Effectively, what difference would it make to me flying if I buy a new one? Will I be detected by anyone flying? I spoke about that earlier. I'm not going to go over it again, Terry, because I just don't have the time. Go back and watch the live stream from the start when it turns itself into a video. I've spoken about that. I can't go over it. All I'll say is, will you be detected by anyone while flying? I don't know that, because it's still really to be established how effective the apps that can capture where a drone and a drone operator is. Yeah, how effective those are, we don't know yet, because it hasn't been shown in the real world. And YouTube creators can speculate about it all they want. I'm not going to speculate. I'm going to wait until it happens and see the real world tests. Okay, so go and watch the live stream for the start. And the last comment here before I move on to the second part, which is I'm going to run over tonight. Glasgow Detectorist to say they just ordered a DJI Nero from DJI itself for my first drone. Comes in a couple of days. So if it has UK on it, I need to get the other ID as well, as the two I've already done. Thanks, Jesus. Yes. If it comes with a UK one marking, you need to have a flyer ID and an operator ID, and it will transmit remote ID. Okay. It should, when it arrives, it probably will have a UK one marking on, unless it comes in without the UK marking, which means it's a legacy drone. You'll still need the flyer ID and the operator ID, but you won't need a remote ID. Okay. God. Right, I'm going to move on to a second part now, which is the much, much more complicated part. And I'll try to open up for calls at the end of this if I get through it all. And as I say, I apologise if I run over, but I think it's really important that people understand this. This is the complicated one, and this pertains to drones that are above 250 grams but under 900 grams, such as the Mavic 3 or the Air 3S, the Air 2, the Avata 2, the Avata 1, I believe, is over 250 grams as well, and the DJI FPV drones. Any drone that is above 250 grams but under 900, that's not the Mavic 4 Pro, it's above 900 grams. So if you have a Mavic 4 Pro, this is not included in this section. Okay. Right, I'm going to get my screen up here as well and show you some things. I'll show you the table first of all. This is really complicated. I've got two tables for this one, actually. No, I deleted one of them because I felt it was becoming too complicated. Right, let me preface this by saying this is where there's mass confusion, right? Some of the YouTube creators who have spoken about this have got it right. Some of them have got it wrong. When I look back on the live streams and the videos that I made regarding this, I thought going in before I watched them that I had made it very clear. I discovered when watching back the information that I'd given that it wasn't as clear as what I thought. I assumed a few things, and I made my statements based on a few assumptions that I had made. Those assumptions, I'm not saying they were wrong, but the assumptions that I made, I assumed that they covered everybody that I was talking to, and that was wrong, because not everyone I was talking to has the label or had the label that I assumed they did. So I'm going to make it clear tonight. Before I show you any tables or anything, I will point out what a lot of people think. And they think that if you fly a drone that is sub 900 grams after January the 1st, you can fly in the A1 category. Now, that's half true, but it's only true in certain circumstances. And that's where I assumed incorrectly. I said that you can fly this drone in the A1 category just the same as a Mini 3, Mini 4 Pro. I assumed that everyone who had a drone of this size had a C1 label on it. But it turns out not everyone does. So that's where the disparity is. And that's what a lot of YouTube creators who have spoken about this have erred. They missed this out. So before I break it down for you, let me give it to you clearly. If you have a sub 900 gram drone that's above 250 grams, such as the Mavic 3, the Air 3S, all of the ones that I mentioned previously, you can fly in the A1 category. That's the same category as a mini drone, provided it has a C1 label on it. If it doesn't have a label of any kind, it's a legacy drone, and you can only fly it from the 1st of January in the A3 category. Or if you have an A2 certificate of competence, a certificate of competency, you can fly in the A2 category, but you cannot fly in the A1 category unless it has a C1 marking, a label on it. And if it does, your quid's in, you can fly it just like your mini Pro drone. So with that in mind, let me speak about that in a bit more detail. I'll bring up my screen again. I can remember how to do it. That one. Right. So here we go. And the reality in 2026, it's A1 category only if it's class marked. Let's look at the drone type. A legacy sub 900 gram drone, Air 3, Mavic 3, bought before 2026 without a class mark. It's got no class mark on it. Can it be flown in A1? No, it cannot. Why? Because A1 privileges are class based and not weight based. And I'll go into it in more detail for those who like that kind of thing. A new sub 900 gram drone with a UK 1 class marking, can it be flown from A1? Yes, it can. It's eligible for A1 flight. Okay. A new sub with a 900 gram drone, a UK 2 marking, not for A1. You're restricted to A2 or A3. And that's a sub. We've spoken that already, right? In fact, let me look at all this stuff I've got ready to talk about here, right? Right. What the law says, forget the sub 250, we've spoken about that, right? But simply being a sub 900 gram does not automatically give you A1 status, right? The only way it gets those A1 privileges if it actually carries a class mark that places it in A1 under the UK class system, right? That means it must have a UK 1 mark, or, and here's the confusion, if it has a C1 mark, it is allowed to fly in the A1 category, right? It's allowed to fly in the A1 category with a C1 mark. Now, let's see. Let me cut back to myself for a second. So if your sub 900 gram, 250 gram plus drone has a C1 label, that you could have got that with the EU. You can still get it. I'm going to explain how to get it if you don't already have it. It's it was the EU's classification, and it's carried over until the end of 2027. So up until 2028, if you have a C1 mark on your heavy drone, your big drone, you can fly in the A1 category. If you don't have a C1 marking, you can't fly it in the A1 category. If you buy a new one, a new big fat drone that has a UK 1 marking, you can fly it in the sub 900, the A1 category, right? That's cutting through all of the different reasons why. I could give you all of the different reasons why and show you all the legislation, the breakdowns. But that would just confuse you. The bottom line is that if your bigger drone has a C1 label, you can fly it in the A1 category like this. If it doesn't, you can't. You can only fly it A3 or A2 if you have a certificate of competence, right? So, how do you get a C1 label if you don't have one? It's complicated, but not impossible. Because it's nothing to do with the UK, you can't apply for one in the UK. A C1 label is part of the EU regulations. Now, you're thinking, well, if it's the EU regulations, what's it got to do with the UK? What it's got to do with the UK is that if you have that EU regulation C1 marking, or if you get that EU regulation C1 marking, you can fly that legacy drone up until the end of 2027 in the UK, and then you won't be able to, right? But it's basically the UK just carrying on the EU marking until the end of 2027. So if you don't have one, you can get one, but it's complicated. I'm not going to show you the shared screen now because it does make it very, very. It's like, oh my God, that is. I'm just going to switch it. I'm just going to go away and watch the Drone Seekers International now because that's too much for me. Right? And got 20 minutes left yet, so I'm going to get there. I am going to get there because I'm not going to go into all the sub paragraphs and the sub class. I'm not doing all that. Geeks Fan will do that. If you want to go and watch the Geeks Fan, they'll do that for you. They'll show you all of the sub regulations. I'm just going to tell you how you can get your C1 label now on your big fat drone, allowing you to fly your big fat drone in the UK without remote ID as if it was a mini drone up until the end of 2027. And this is how you do it. And it's not easy. First of all, you have to apply for a C1 label. And there's only one way of applying for it. You can't email anyone. You can't write. You have to go to an EU country. Any EU, I think is it 27 states, or were there 27 when we were in and now there's 26? I can't remember. But there's probably about 27 countries that you can go to, including Ireland, right? You can go over to Ireland, that's an EU country. I don't know if Ireland's closer than France. Depends where you are in the UK, right? Ireland and France or maybe even Holland are the closest EU countries. But you have to go to one of those. And the reason for that is because the only way to apply is by a pop-up that happens on your remote control screen. And the pop-up automatically pops up when you're in an EU country if you want to apply for a C1 marking. If you're in the UK, you won't get that pop-up. It just doesn't happen. So you have to go to an EU country first of all. And when you're in an EU country, you turn on your drone, you turn on your controller, and once it all boots up, you'll get a pop-up asking if you want to apply for a C-class category, a C label marking. If you go ahead and you say yes and you fill in the online form on your screen, the other thing that you have to have is an EU address, because that's where they will post out the label. They will post that label out to you to an EU address. Once you get that, now I don't know how long it takes, right? But if you go on holiday to the EU for 2 weeks and you apply on your first day, fingers crossed that it arrives in 2 weeks to wherever you're staying. But if it doesn't, you'll be back home by the time it arrives. So you have to work that one out yourself, how you're going to get it shipped to an EU address. You may have friends or relations in the country that you visit, And when you fire up your controller and drone, oh, nice fireworks, and apply for the C1 label, you put in the address of your friends or family in that country. So then when you go home, if the label arrives after you've left, your friends or family will have it, and then they can post it to the UK to you. Once you then, I'm going to put my hands down, I keep getting all these stupid pop-ups. Once you then have your C1, your EU C1 marking, what you have to do is you have to put it onto your drone. You have to take a photograph of that label on the drone and send it to DJI. DJI will then send you the certificate, and it's the certificate that is the proof that you have a C1 marked drone, not the actual label itself. The label itself is just a label that anyone can stick on. You could probably print one off and stick it on yourself, but it doesn't make it valid. It's the certificate that comes from DJI that makes it valid. So once you send the photograph of the label on your drone with the serial number of the drone, DJI will send the certificate, and they're going to send it to the EU address. So you still have to have friends and family there who are going to post it to you. They will post that out to you. And when you receive it, you now have a certificated C1 drone, big, fat, heavy drone, that you can fly in the UK in the A1 category, same as this, without a remote ID. And you can do that up until December the 31st, 2027, when the regulations change again in 2028. But I'm not going to speak about that tonight because it's already 7:45 and I don't have time to talk about the changes in 2028. So those are the changes on the heavier drones that are coming into effect on Wednesday. So the phone lines are open. I'll repost the link. It's the same link if you want to call in and we can chat. And you don't have to be on screen. You can mute your camera or turn off your camera and just speak. We don't have to see you. Or you can have your mic and your camera on. It's entirely up to you. But for anyone who wants to call in with any questions, not just about part two, because I've only got 15 minutes left. If anyone wants to call in with questions about either the sub 250 gram drone classification and the new rules, or the sub 900 gram drone new classification and requirements from Wednesday, call in and I'll put you live on the air with me tonight. Okay. I didn't think I was going to get through all of that before 8 o'clock, but I'm surprised I did. So I'll wait and see if anyone wants to call in. Maybe not. Maybe nobody does. And I'll have a quick look through your chat. Right. Danger Drone, you said keep in mind my question in case they are all still sold with C1, C0, C1. Well, I can't remember your question, Danger, but if it has a C label on it, then you're not required to have remote ID. And if it's a C1, you can fly in the A1 category. It's as simple as that. That's where it's not complicated. Everything else is complicated because there are so many. If it's this, you must do this. If it's that, not this, you can't do that. Can't do this. So there's a lot of ifs and buts and whatnots. But the simplicity of it is that if you have a C labeled drone, a C label marking on your drone, you don't need remote ID up until 2028, and you can fly it in the A1 category, provided it's under 900 grams. So that's simple. And good news. The bad news is I assumed everyone had, as I do, a C1 label on their drone. That was wrong. I should not have assumed that. I should have assumed that most people don't, and therefore cannot fly in the A1 category without that. All right. That was my error. Here's Drone Alone saying, what's the deal with VLOS changing to direct sight? As far as I'm aware, everyone needs a spotter now. No, everyone always needed a spotter. Because an FPV drone isn't a drone where you wear goggles. An FPV drone is a drone where you fly using either goggles or a screen, right? It's first person view, which is, it can be a screen. You're not required by law to have a spotter. Nothing is, the wording changed, but the regulation didn't change. If you go out and fly your drone without a spotter, if you don't have goggles, no one's going to do you for it. You're not going to get done for it. Even if you fly with goggles without a spotter, no one's going to do you for it. They could, just like they could if you flew without a spotter using your screen. They could, but the CAA has made it clear that they intend that as you are flying your drone with a screen, that you look up and you glance down at your screen for a couple of seconds I think they said every 45 seconds or so, you can glance down at your screen. So although the hard, fast rule has always been you require a spotter for FPV flying, a lot of people think FPV means goggles. It doesn't. FPV can mean a screen as well. It does mean a screen as well. So don't worry about that. Terry McGeary, where are we? Terry McGeary says, you've got a Mini 3 Pro from 2 3 years ago. Must be legacy. Yes, it is. Effectively, what difference would it make to my flying if I buy a new drone? Oh, I think I've already answered that, Terry. And the answer was watch the first part of this live stream where I lay it all out and I show you on screen a table showing the difference between a legacy drone and a new drone. So I think I answered that. Right, where are we? Yes, got it. Just goes to show, says Paul, all this label stuff is nonsense. I know I don't want to mention the B word, Brexit, but a lot of the confusion has been caused because we Brexited and had to separate the regulations from the EU and come up with our own regulations. And although I'm not saying the EU regulations were, the perfection itself, all I'm saying is that we've had to introduce a whole new set of our own rules and regulations, and some of them coincide with the EU, and some of the EU ones roll over for a couple of years, and that's where the confusion has come in, I think. Right, Terry. Okay. Cheers, Terry. I just I don't want to go over stuff that I've spoken about, because everyone else in the chat is like, you've spoke for 15, 20 minutes about that. We don't want to hear it all again. So I just watch it yourself. And like I said earlier on, if anyone has any still is left with confusion after watching this live stream, email me. It's windsweprobert@gmail.com, and I'll send you a copy of all of the research that I spent hours and hours and hours on today with no pay. And I'll send you a copy of that so that you can look through it yourself. Or alternatively, you can watch the live stream back on replay or whatever it's called, and pause the video and screenshot anything you want. That way you'll get all of the tables then that I've compiled. All right. Well, Sean is saying that's an urban myth. Geeks fan, I told you that. I don't know what, and he's talking to Drone Alone, so I don't know what urban myth you're talking about there. And I'm scrolling back to see if I can find Drone Alone's comment. Oh, there's Albert there. Hi, Albert there. How are you doing? I don't see the. I don't see the comment that you're referring to there, Sean. So I can't say whether it's an urban myth, because I don't know what you're talking about. All right. Stevie says, I was just looking forward to flying my Mavic 3 under new rules, but not being a C1. Snookers me now. I've got the A2Cs. Oh, here's a really important thing I forgot to mention. 8 minutes left. Right, Stevie, you just prompted my memory there, although you didn't mention it. Right. Here's the best way to fly your big fat heavy drone if you don't have a C1 label on it, right? And that is to fly under Article 16. Okay, you don't need a C1 label, you don't need any label. A legacy drone that's got no label whatsoever on it, you can fly it under Article 16. Now, I've live streamed and I've made videos about Article 16, so I'm not going to get into a lot of detail about it, but I'll give you a rough summary of what Article 16 is for those of you who don't know. If you are a member of an organisation such as FPV UK or BMB. There's another one I used to be a member of, can't remember what they're called. British. I can't remember what it's called. But there are a couple of organisations, maybe more, that you can join. I'm a member of FPV UK and it's 25 quid a year, I think it is. That's what the cost is. And for that, provided you follow their requirements to fly under Article 16, it means that you can fly, and that's doing things like creating a risk assessment, a couple of wee things that you have to do, but nothing that anyone can't do. Very, very simple things. You can fly. Imagine there's a 30-meter globe sphere round about your drone, your big fat drone. A 30-meter sphere, and that 30-meter sphere you can't bring that within people or buildings, except when you're taking off, and it's then reduced to 15 meters. And if you stay in cinematic mode, then that reduces again. Okay, but you can do that under Article 16 if you don't have a C1 marking. Right, Article 6. I did speak about it at the very beginning. I spoke about Articles at the beginning of this live stream. I spoke about Article 16 and said that you can do that with a new drone, and you can do it with a legacy drone. You're entitled to do that, provided you are part of an organisation and you meet those requirements. You can check the websites of BMCAA or whatever it's called and FPV UK to see what the requirements are. You also get, I think it's £5 million worth of insurance, third-party public liability insurance with FPV UK, and I think it's 12 million with the other one that you get. So that's a handy and that's all built into your cost as well. You also get access to their chat rooms, their help, the support system, the different forums or fora, if you're old school like me, where you can interact with other members and admin and moderators and ask questions and look at information. You get all of that as part of your subscription, 25 quid a year. It's well worth it in my opinion. So even if you don't have a C1 label on your drone, your big fat drone, two ways you can fly close to people is get a C1 label, as I described earlier, how to get it, go to a EU country, blah, 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 or fly under Article 16 by joining a group such as the BMCAA, BMFCA or whatever it's called, or FPV UK. Join one of those two groups and fly under Article 16. That's the two ways you can do. So all is not lost, Stevie. Okay. I know that you're already a member of FPV UK, and I know that you already fly under Article 16. So for you, nothing changes on Wednesday. You can still fly your Mavic 3 and your Air 3S exactly as you were flying it today, if you flew it today. Okay, there you go. There you go. BMFA. That's it. BMFA. Right. Okay. I knew it had a B and an F in it. So Stevie, yeah, there you go. So you're absolutely sorted. Right. Drone Alonso, Sean was commenting on the direct site comment that you already answered. Okay, right. Well, as long as I've already answered it, that's good. And Terry says that FPV UK is good for insurance cover. Yeah, £5 million worth of public liability insurance, which is a good wee stress breaker to have to know that when you're flying your drone, your big fat drone, if it drops on a car or something and bends the roof of that £90,000 Mercedes, you're covered. All right. Terry, I'm not going to get into that because the commercial side of it is different. There are now new regulations coming on January the 1st that cover the commercial side of it. I don't want to get into it today because it's not good news, I'm afraid, and I'm not covering that today. I'm only covering the hobbyist side of the two things that I decided to cover. 2 minutes left. Thanks very much, Paul. You're good nighting me early. That's off again. Right, this was a call-in show tonight, and no one called in. Which is a bit surprising. Tony says, just fly your drone, say forget a label. It's up to you. You're all big boys. You can fly your drone however you like. I'm just giving you the information that is complicated to find yourself. That's all. Whether you follow this, the information I've given you or not, it's entirely up to you. Do what you want. I'm not your daddy. Right, this was a call-in show tonight that no one called in, which is a bit of a surprise. You still have time to give me the old thumbs up, right? Or hit that super chat if you like. For the amount of work that I did today on this was, I mean, hours and hours and hours I spent on it. However, don't feel obligated to hit the super chat and send me a quid, right? It's up to you. You don't have to. Thanks for listening to everybody who's here. I hope the rest of your year goes well, and I hope you have some great flying days ahead. And thanks very much. I'm going to end the stream now. Cheerio the now.